Assalamu alaikum everyone.
Walaikum salam.
How is everybody doing today?
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, so I'd like to welcome everyone to this gathering where we are gathered here today to talk about the wonderful month of Islamic heritage. So we're here to see what Islam is about, to discover, learn words of wisdom from our youth as well as from our Imam. So I hope today that we gather in the spirit of brother and sisterhood, seeking to increase our knowledge and strengthen our faith. May our time together be blessed with harmony and understanding and enlightenment. Let us open our heart to the wisdom that surrounds us and embrace each other with kindness and love. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide our words and actions as we come together to learn and grow in our understanding of Islam. I would like to welcome everybody once again to this sacred space filled with peace and blessings. So we'd like to start our today's halaqah with calling upon, starting with the Quran recitation and calling upon Nur Huda, who will be followed by Mohammad Yunus, who will do the English translation.
Now that the life of this world is but amusement and diverse and I don't and boasting to one another and competition in increase of wealth and children. By the example of rain which results in plant growth, this is the tillers, then it dries and you see it turn yellow, then it becomes scattered debris, then in the hereafter it's the punishment and forgiveness from Allah, and approval and what is worldly life except the enjoyment of delusion. Restore forgiveness from your Lord and God, then whose gift is like the width of heaven and earth. Prepare for those who believe in Allah and His Messenger. There is bounty of Allah which He gives to whom He wills, and Allah is the possessor of great bounty. No disaster strike upon the earth or among yourselves except that is in register before we bring it into being. Indeed, that for Allah is easy. in order that you not despair over what has eluded you, and not exult in pride over what he gives you, and Allah does not like everyone self-delude and boastfulness. Those who are stingy and enjoying upon people's stinginess, and whoever turns away, then indeed Allah is the free of need and the praiseworthy. We have already sent our messenger with clear evidence and sent down with them the scripture and the balance that the people might maintain injustice, and we sent down iron wherein this great military might be benefit for people, and so that Allah might make evident those who support him and his messenger and cousins. Indeed, Allah is powerful and exalted in mind.
Masya Allah.
Thank you. I'd like to now open the floor to our youth, and we will start with a presentation from Sonya Bawa on the legacy of Ibn al-Haytham.
I hope I pronounced the name right. If I did, I'm sorry. Haytham, thank you for that.
Sonya.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Hassan ibn al-Haytham, the father of modern optics. Born around 1,000 years ago in present-day Iraq, al-Haytham ibn al-Haytham, known in the West by the Latinist form of his first name, initially al-Hakim and later al-Haytham, was a pioneering scientific thinker who made important contributions to the understanding of vision, optics, and light. His methodology of investigation, in particular using experiment to verify theory, shows certain similarities to what later became known as the modern scientific method. Through his book of optics, Kitab al-Manazir, and its Latin translation, the Istiqlal, his idea influenced European scholars, including those of the European Renaissance. Today, many consider him a pivotal figure in the history of optics and the father of modern optics. Ibn al-Haytham was born during a creative period known as the Golden Age of Muslim civilization that saw many fascinating advances in science, technology, and medicine. In an area that spread from Spain to China, inspirational men and women of different faiths and cultures built upon knowledge of ancient civilizations, making discoveries that had a huge and often underappreciated impact on our world. Hassan ibn al-Haytham, pioneering scientist. Ibn al-Haytham's work was remarkable for its emphasis on proof and evidence. He is known to have said, if learning the truth is a scientist's goal, then he must make himself the enemy of all that he reads. By this he meant it was essential to conduct experiments to test what is written rather than blindly accepting it as true. Ibn al-Haytham was born in the year 965 in Basra and died in about 1040 in Cairo. He was one of the earliest scientists to study the characteristics of light and mechanism / process of vision. He saw experimental proof of his theories and ideas. During many years living in Egypt, 10 of which were spent under what we may now call protective custody, house of arrest. He composed one of his most celebrated works, the Kitab al-Manazir, whose title is commonly translated into English as Book of Optics, but more properly as a broader meaning Book of Vision. Ibn al-Haytham made significant advances in optics, mathematics, and astronomy. His works on optics was characterized by a strong emphasis on carefully designed experiments to test theories and hypotheses. In that regard, he was following a procedure somewhat similar to the one modern scientists adhere to in their investigative research. Ibn al-Haytham experimented to prove that we see because light from objects travels in a straight line into our eyes. Different views about how the process of vision could be explained had been in circulation for centuries, mainly among classical Greek thinkers. Some said rays came out of their eyes, while others thought something entered the eyes to represent an object. But it was the 11th century scientist Ibn al-Haytham who undertook a systematic critique of these ideas about vision in order to demonstrate by both reason and experiment that light was a crucial and independent part of the visual process. He thus concluded that vision would only take place when a light ray issued from a luminous source or was reflected from such a source before it entered the eye. Ibn al-Haytham is credited when explaining the nature of light and vision through using a dark chamber he called al-Bay al-Muslim, which has the Latin translation as the camera obscura, the device that forms the basis of photography. Out of the 96 books he is recorded to have written, only 55 are known to have survived. Those related to the subject of light included the light of the moon, the light of the stars, the rainbow and the halo, spherical burning mirrors, parabolic burning mirrors, the burning spear, the shape of the eclipse, the formation of shadows, discourse on light, as well as his masterpiece book of optics. Latin translation of some of his works are known to have influenced important medieval and European Renaissance thinkers like Roger Bacon, René Descartes, and Christian Huygens, who knew him as Alhazen. The crater Alhazen on the moon is named in his honor, as is the asteroid 59,239 Alhazen. Invited to Egypt to help build a dam on the Nile, after a field visit, he declined to proceed with the project, causing him to end up in what we now call protective custody for 10 years. From his observations of light entering a dark room, he made major breakthroughs in understanding light and vision. His discoveries led him to make significant revision to ancient views about how our eyes see. Through his studies of early work by Galen and others, he gave names to several parts of the eye, such as the lens, the retina, and the cornea. He set new standards in experimental science and completed his great book of optics sometime around 1027. He died at the age of 74 in around the year 1040. His book of optics was translated into Latin and had a significant influence on many scientists of the Middle Ages, Renaissance, and Enlightenment. For example, the optics book's perspective was authored around 1275 by Erasmus Whitlow, who later was called Alhazen's ape, when people realized he had largely copied Al-Haytham's book of optics. Ibn al-Haytham was born after centuries of intense activity in mathematics, astronomy, optics, and other physical science. Although he was preceded by great pioneers such as Aristotle, Euclid, Ptolemy, Al-Kindi, Banu Musa, Thabit ibn Qura, Ibrahim ibn Sinan, Al-Kuhi, and Ibn Sahi. His work was distinguishably novel. Ibn al-Haytham stands out in this long list as the leading figure in both the science of light and science of vision. Because his work depended so heavily on experimentally based demonstrations, his work was important for two reasons. 1. Ibn al-Haytham showed that a person saw an object by something entering the eye and rather than leaving the eye. Before Ibn al-Haytham, both ideas had been put forward by other scientists and scholars writing in Greek, Latin, Arabic, and other languages. 2. Ibn al-Haytham used systematic experimentation in his work on optics. Ptolemy, working in the Greek-based culture of 2nd century Alexandria, had used a similar approach in his work on optics. However, Ibn al-Haytham's work was distinguishably novel. Ibn al-Haytham greatly benefited from being able to use the work of previous generations of scholars that had been translated into Arabic over a period of over 200-300 years, under the patronage of various Muslim rulers and wealthy aristocrats. This included direct translation of many scientific works from Greek, Syria, Persian, which themselves were the heirs to the great scientific traditions of ancient Egypt, Babylonia, India, and China. In turn, Ibn al-Haytham's work proved to be equally influential on scholars writing in Latin during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. In this way, he formed part of the intellectual legacy that Latin scholars derived from Muslim civilization from the 13th century onwards, including the Renaissance and early modern periods. With new scientific insights, such as those of Ibn al-Haytham, as well as medical marvels, astronomical observations, new maps, libraries, and advanced schools that taught various mathematical subjects, Muslim civilization made significant and crucial contributions to the accumulation of scientific knowledge in the pre-modern age that changed the ancient world. These past discoveries have shaped our homes, schools, hospitals, towns, the way we trade, travel, and our understanding of the universe. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Sonya. That was so well done and well prepared for, and we learned a lot from you. I'd now like to call Zhil and Zoya to also talk about some works from our Muslim world.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Today, Zoya and I will be talking about scientific advancements from the Muslim world. So first of all, I will be talking about the Banu Muslim brothers. So, the Banu Muslim brothers were three Baghdadi brothers, Muhammad, Ahmed, Hassan, and Hassan. They lived during the 9th century, during the height of the Islamic Golden Age. This was the time where Muslims made the most notable scientific discoveries. They invented and modified over 1,000 inventions in the Kitab al-Qiyam. This book was a book consisting of over 100 mechanical devices, each with their own image, along with the description and explanation on how to operate each device. There were modifications to devices that were described in older Greek and Roman manuscripts as well. And in addition to this, they also made their own inventions. Some of their most notable inventions include jars and jugs. They developed innovative jars and jugs for storing and dispensing liquids, designed for durability and ease of use, sustainable for liquids like water and oil. They incorporated spouts or valves for controlled pouring, minimizing spills, and some designs even include seals to preserve contents and reduce spoilage. They created different types of shapes and sizes for specific purposes, enhancing its functionality. They also created fountains. They created fountains that could shoot water in various directions in forms such as arcs and sprays. They likely incorporated mechanisms such as valves and nozzles, allowing for adjustable water flow. Some of their fountains used gravity before the concept was officially even discovered. Finally, they used lamps. They created lamps that used efficient fuels such as oils, which made them brighter and reduced emissions. They also used glass to spread the light and added reflectors to reduce their brightness. Their work helped shape the future of lighting designs. Now, they all made these designs because they were inspired by Baghdad's rich culture towards learning, and also because of their father Zhil as a scholar. I'll now pass over the mic to Zoya.
Yes. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum everyone.
Walaikum salam.
Today I will be talking about Muhammad al-Khwarizmi. Let's begin with who he was and what he did. Al-Khwarizmi is known as the father of algebra because he created the concept and introduced it to the West. He was a famous mathematician and astronomer at the House of Wisdom. So, you might ask, what is algebra? Algebra is a type of mathematics in which letters and other general symbols are used to represent numbers and quantities in equations. Algebra was used for taxation, commerce, trade, and economy. Where is Muhammad al-Khwarizmi from? Muhammad al-Khwarizmi was born around 1780 in Kirkuk, Uzbekistan. He worked and lived his life in Baghdad, Iraq. Muhammad worked at the House of Wisdom where he acquired and translated philosophical treatises, mainly Greek. He wrote 3 books, 2 of which were called the Compendious Book on Calculation by Completion and Balancing, and the second, The Image of Earth. He also introduced Hindu and Arabic numerals and their arithmetic to the West. He had also compiled a set of astronomical data. How was algebra created? Al-Khwarizmi was part of a community of scholars from across the world who studied and translated ancient manuscripts on science, math, medicine, history, philosophy, and more. He did more than just translate. He blended and improved mathematical concepts from the ancient Babylonian, Greek, and Hindu scholars, revolutionizing how we do math. He was later invited to the House of Wisdom, the Grand Library of Baghdad. Al-Khwarizmi made many contributions in geography, astronomy, geometry, and calendar systems, but mainly in math. How is algebra used today? We unknowingly and knowingly use algebra in many ways. We use algebra for basic things like cooking or budgeting, or even in academics. It helps us solve problems quickly and easier than we could otherwise solve. Algebra is used for complex things too, like to design robotics, coding, traveling, and distance calculations, and even in shopping and discounts. Algebra teaches us to follow a logical path in life. In conclusion, their inventions improve daily life. By celebrating Islamic Heritage Month, we acknowledge the lasting impact of Islamic scholars on modern technology and design, encouraging us to appreciate and learn from this rich heritage as we move forward. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam.
MashaAllah, you guys are all awake. A'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa afdalu as-salati wa tamu at-taslim ala sayyidina Muhammad al-Nabiy al-Ummi al-Amin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. Ahbab Mustafa alayhi salatu wa salam, first things first, thank you all for coming and joining us for our monthly family halaqa, which takes place on the last Saturday of every month. Mark your calendars, this will be ongoing inshallah. I hope and pray inshallah that these gatherings are beneficial to all of us. Perhaps we learn something. And even if we don't, to spend time in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beneficial for all of us. And I heard there's dinner too, so you really have nothing to complain about. Now, I want to take this opportunity inshallah to introduce you guys to an idea. Seeing as these events will be happening every month, I want to invite you guys inshallah to continue to be actively a part of it. For all of the youth today who participated, may Allah bless you. I was very happy to see you guys involved, even though some of you got the last minute notice. I'm hoping inshallah that you guys will continue to be involved. And those of you who are parents here who have children who maybe are not here, connect them to us and let them get involved as well. The purpose of this gathering, besides me lecturing, I lecture every week by the way, But at least once a month, we want our kids to get involved in presenting and sharing what they learn. And hopefully, inshallah, it will push them to want to learn more about their deen, right? I have to be completely honest with you. Many of you guys may know this. Even myself, you will say, I'm the Imam. Yes, I'm the Imam. If I didn't have to come here and teach, you think I'll learn something new every week? Like, it's the pressure of needing to come and share something that forces us to learn things. This is human nature, right? So for our kids, if every month they have to present something, they have to share something, my hope, inshallah, is that they will spend a couple of weeks trying to learn new things about Islam, about the history of Islam, the legacy of Islam, and then they will feel confident and comfortable coming to share. This is on the religious side of things. Obviously, there's the other side of that coin. All of you who work out in the field will know that the number one skill that you need to be successful in the workforce outside is what? The ability to present your work. Right? Those of you who are younger than me, ask your parents, ask the elders in your family. At the workplace, there are 10 people who hardly do any work, but they have the loudest mouth and they make lots of noise. Everyone thinks they're busy doing something. In essence, they do absolutely nothing. And then there's another 10 guys who do lots of hard work, but they're very quiet. They're not comfortable sharing with other people what they do. So people overlook them and think they're just quiet, they're in the corner doing nothing. And we're not trying to teach our kids to be a fraud, no. But they should develop the skill to be able to publicly express themselves and to be able to showcase what they know. Inshallah, if they can do that, then I have no doubt that give us 20 years, 30 years, we will have the Ibn al-Haythams and the Ibn Khalduns of the future from our own kids, inshallah. Why not? All of our Muslim kids, I say this with full appreciation and confidence for our cultures. All of the Muslim kids here in Canada go to university and college, isn't it? It's almost haram for our kids to finish. If someone says, I'm done grade 12, mommy, I don't want to go to school again, he'll get a few slaps and it will wake him up and he will say, okay, I will apply inshallah next week. Then the Muslim children in this part of the world, and that's why we have hope that the future inshallah will be better, they are getting a good quality education and inshallah they will excel, whether in mathematics, whether in the sciences, whether in medicine, whether in management, whether in deen, whatever it is that they study, they will excel inshallah, they will do well. But the hope is that they connect their study and their accumulation of knowledge to our history, to our tradition. Muslims, once upon a time were the leaders of human civilization, as our kids presented to us and told us today, right? These great names that we were reminded of today, they were Muslim like me and you. These fellows grew up, by the way, all of them, Ibn Haytham, Khawarizmi, all of them, mashallah, they had a good Islamic upbringing. They memorized Quran, they studied fiqh, they studied the usul of the deen, and then they went and studied whatever they were interested in. Math, chemistry, physics, medicine, like Ibn Sina, and they excelled in their study. Why did they reach the top of the civilization? Why did the Western world look to them and translate their books and copy from them? Because they put in the effort, right? Then if we put the effort also, inshallah, we can also achieve lots of great things. Then hopefully, inshallah, a night like tonight will be something that can inspire not only the children, but also as adults here in the room, that we can achieve something good, inshallah, in our lifetime that can add to the legacy of Islam. Islamic Heritage Month is a time for us to reflect on the achievements of the Muslims before us, and to remind ourselves that as Muslim, Allah has given us the ability to add value and to contribute to humanity and to civilization. Somebody may ask, what can I contribute? Everybody can contribute. You can contribute fundamentally at a basic level by being a good human being. Is that too hard? Each one of us can contribute by making sure that we are a good citizen, a good human being. If you are a mother or father, you can contribute by raising your children, inshallah, to fulfill their potential. Put it in their heart and put it in their mind that you are a Muslim, you are a worshipper of Allah. Allah has given you ability, Allah has given you talent, Allah has given you a good brain, use it. Add something to the knowledge and to the sciences of humanity. If you are somebody who's in a position of leadership in the community, You have every opportunity in the world to contribute positively to this society and to humanity at large. Time is very limited and I'm hungry and you guys need to eat as well. So let's go through some of the material that I have, inshallah, and then I'll open it for you guys if you have any questions. The Muslim legacy and the heritage of Islam is full of legendary names of scholars and ulama, and I want us today, inshallah, if nothing else, I want you to appreciate this concept from me. When we talk about ulama in the history of Islam, we don't only talk about Muslims, we're not only scholars of hadith and tafsir and fiqh. Hadith and tafsir and fiqh was the basis, was like the grade 12 education for all of these folks, for all of these scholars. The names that you will hear, maybe you've heard many times before, like Imam al-Razi, Ibn Khaldun, Ibn Sina, Ibn al-Haytham, Khwarizmi, these great giants of human science. They were Muslim scholars. It's not because their books were in tafsir or aqidah or fiqh. They knew tafsir, aqidah and fiqh, but they contributed to the world at large. This is how the Muslim mind used to be. Sometimes today, not in our circle, but in some Muslim circles, there's a disconnect. Where people think to be religious means I should memorize the Quran and memorize as much hadith and memorize the madhab of Imam Abu Hanifa or Imam Shafi'i. Once I know all the masail, then I'm a good religious guy. The A'immah of the past is not how they thought. Knowing deen was a necessity to live as a good Muslim. But being a good human being, somebody who is a good servant of Allah, meant to excel in whatever Allah has given you talent and ability. All of these great names, they were Muslim, they were believers in Allah, they had knowledge of deen, they were excelling in their understanding of deen, but also they were keen to lead in whatever field Allah opened for them, right? And this is for my young friends, the girls in the back and the boys who are here who I can hardly see. I want you guys to start thinking like this. Whatever it is you study computer science, you study physics, you study medicine, you study architecture. I am a Muslim. I want to reach the top of my profession. I want to reach the top of my field. Not only to make lots of money, you will make lots of money inshallah when you reach the top of your field, but you want people around you to know that Ahmed and Muhammad and Ali and Khadija and Zhil and Zoya and Sonya and everyone, these are the leaders in their field. These are the people who are adding new information to their science and to their field of study. This is what we hope for, inshallah. Ahbab, very quickly, I'm going to touch on some of the things that we can reflect on from the heritage of Islam that is, a source of pride for us as Muslims, that this is what Islam contributed to humanity. Among them, from the arena of politics, right? In the political arena, Islam came and promoted an idea that people have freedom to have their own thought, to have their own idea. Today we live in a world that promotes the freedom. So there's freedom today of everything, freedom of choice in every aspect of life. Islam was the first, Muslims were the first civilization by the teaching of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. We had an idea that people have the freedom to have their own idea. When it came to matters of government, the people who lead had to hear the opinion and the idea of the people who they were ruling, right? Not, I don't want to open a can of worms, but one of the leaders who is no longer alive in the Arab world one time spoke about an idea that he called democracy. We're not talking about democracy. We're talking about the Islamic concept of shura. From the earliest days of the seerah, the Prophet ﷺ consulted with people. Allah commanded Muhammad ﷺ in the Quran, He said, "Amruhum shura baynahum." Their affairs, they should be consulted about it. And so we see Sahaba radhiyallahu alayhim, even after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he has the senior Sahaba around him to consult with him. Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab, he keeps a close committee of Sahaba around him to advise him on affairs. And this was the Islamic practice when it came to governance and politics. Islam didn't have an idea of one-man show. Today it's very different. Let's leave that alone. Originally, Islam came to say people have a right to be heard. People have a right to voice their opinion. There should be representation of the population involved in the decision making of the nation, of the municipality, of the city, whatever it is. Right? Again, there are so many examples of this from the early centuries of Islam that we can go through, but this was the idea. And this is why until today, it is a healthy concept in every area of leadership that you have, consultation with people. Let's start at the very bottom. At home, in the family, the brother will say, no, Allah gave the men the upper hand. الرجال قوامون على النساء. صح, it's an ayah from the Quran, all of us know that. But what kind of family will you have if the husband and wife don't consult each other? If the mother and father don't discuss the matters relating to the children? What kind of family? You tell me, right? Then if you want a healthy family, the mother and the father should consult each other. The father has the right and Allah has given him the responsibility to make the decision. But before making the decision, he should talk to his wife, he should talk to the mother of the children. Maybe she knows something you don't know. Maybe she sees things from a different perspective that you don't see. Maybe she's completely wrong. At least you let her feel like she's heard and she's part of the process. And even in the family, this concept of shura is very, very healthy. When you scale upwards, you go to the community level, obviously you understand this is necessary, right? Imagine if everything in the masjid, whatever the Imam said, went. I like that idea. Right? In any environment, if one guy has the only say and has the final say, nothing is going to be enjoyable for everyone. But we come together as a community. We have, mashallah, committee, we have a board. Yes, we have a chairman of the board, he's sitting in front of me. He is responsible. Eventually, whatever decision is made, he will have to pay the price for it. But he doesn't make a decision without consulting everyone, asking people for their opinion, asking people for their feedback. If something involves religion, consult with the Imam. As an Imam myself, if something involves the legal aspect of the building or the municipality, I consult with the board who have that experience and who have that knowledge, right? Then we consult with each other, we learn from each other. And obviously, the highest level that we can dream about and imagine is at a national level, at a state level. The closest thing to this in the modern world would be something similar to democracy. Although democracy is not a replicate of the shura concept in Islam. It really isn't. Because democracy is a system, I won't open a whole can of worms, but it has its own flaws as well. When you give everyone the right to vote, this election can be rigged. You hear Trump yelling morning and night about rigging the election, isn't it? Right? We're not for him or supporting his idea, but the concept is when it's masses of people voting like that, things can go left, things can go right. Corruption can happen, of course. Then the Islamic concept wasn't that there's mass elections necessarily, although that can be a tool used to put together a shura, to put together a council of people who will advise the leader. But originally, the Sahaba, radwanullahi alayhim, they gave merit to those people who had the experience and who had the right to be able to give advice, right? Just like how over here, as an example, if we decided to have consultation about a matter, I don't know, let's choose something. We want to expand the masjid. One day, inshallah, we're going to build the second floor or expand it in the back. Then we're going to be expanding the masjid. Then we need to consult with some people. Imagine if I bring a group of people and we say that everyone is welcome to give their opinion and share their idea, and we open it up, and the people who come to give their opinion are people who have no construction experience, have no architectural knowledge, no building clue. Then we open it up for them and we listen to what they have to say, and then we build the second roof or the second floor according to their opinion, and then the whole masjid collapses. Who would you blame? Islam promotes an idea of speak to the people who have experience, consult the people who are experts. Allah says in the Quran, what? فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask those who know if you don't know. Don't go ask somebody else who doesn't know. Al-Muhim, the point is, one of the contributions of Islam to humanity was to introduce this idea that people have a right to have their opinion heard. People are entitled to be able to voice their concern. And subhanAllah, may Allah bring justice and fairness to all of the Muslim lands. Today people are paying the price with their life for wanting to voice their concern. Ahbab, from the things that we want to reflect on that Islam brought for the betterment of humanity, and I want you to really deeply think about this with me. Islam promoted literacy. Islam was all for people learning how to read and write. If I was to ask you guys, as an ummah of Islam, what do we stand for? Some people might say we stand for prayers, we stand for fasting, we stand for Hajj. It's all correct. But I want you to appreciate with me that fundamentally the very first thing that Allah revealed to Muhammad ﷺ in the Quran was Iqra. We are an ummah of literacy. We are a people who read and write. Who reads? Nobody. Very alarming. One person reads, mashallah. Anybody else read? 2 people read. Wow. Ummah needs help. 3 people read. It's not good. It's not looking good. I was expecting, I'll be honest with you, my hope was that I will see all the adults put up their hand, and the kids have their hand down, they say, what are you going to read? Like, everything's on TikTok, why would we need to read? I fully understand, right? But we are an ummah, our strength and our power is in literacy, in reading and writing, right? And you don't need me to tell you that reading, the act of reading, and consuming information, literacy, not watching videos, because watching short videos has a whole other effect. It fries this brain that we have, scrambles this brain. That's why we have people today who their attention span is not more than 30 seconds. Why? Because the TikToks they watch are not more than 30 seconds. Big problem. But if you read, your mind will be enhanced. You will be enlightened. You will learn new things. Your perspective on the world will change. You will become, inshallah, a more learned person. And we are an ummah of iqra. We are people of reading. And Islam brought, literacy as a concept and spread it to the masses. Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ, he took this very seriously. Just one story to illustrate this. In the Battle of Badr, when he had the captives from the mushrikun of Mecca, right? Battle of Badr is over, the Muslims were victorious. The Messenger ﷺ, he had in his hand the captives of war, the prisoners of war. And there were 2 options that he gave the people. It's either your family come and pay money and you can be let go as you can be ransomed, or some people don't know the second option the Prophet ﷺ gave to show you how much of a priority literacy was for him. He told the prisoners, if any of you know how to read and write, find 10 Muslims who don't know how to read and write and teach them. Once they know how to read and write, you can go free. The Prophet ﷺ let prisoners of war go in exchange for his companions learning how to read and write. And you guys, as a community, don't want to read. Very sad. So let's read, inshallah. It doesn't hurt you. Books don't bite. Try reading. Start with a little bit, a couple of pages a day. Pick up some, it doesn't have to be an Islamic book. Pick up a book about something that is beneficial that you're interested in. Don't tell me you picked up Harry Potter, right? Something that is of benefit to you. If you like, something about the physical sciences, if you're into the anatomy of the body, read about that. If you're into space, read about that. If you're into animals and different, studies of biology, go and read that. If you're into history, go and read about history. If you're into, you name it, go read about it. If you're into Sirah, if you're into tafsir, go and read that stuff as well. Why not? Right? But read stuff, inshallah, that will be of benefit to you, that will enhance your mind. The religion of Islam brought literacy to humanity. Come on, we were not the first people to read and write, but it made it something that was normal for everyone. In many, many other civilizations, in many, many other societies, up until the coming of the Nabi alayhi salam, there was an elite class of people who knew how to read and write. And it was locked and kept in that elite class of people. It was not something that was made available for everyone. Islam came, and our beloved Nabi alayhi salam, he wanted every Muslim to know how to read and write. By the way, for my young friends, for our children, something to think about. There are places in the world till today where there are children your age who don't know how to read and write. The fact that those of you who were born here or came here when you were very young were able to go to school from the age of 4 or 5 years old and you were able to learn how to read and how to write and how to do simple math, and all of this was provided to you free of charge in a safe and loving environment. It's a huge ni'mah from Allah that you have to be grateful for, and you should recognize that this is something that is a blessing. It's not something that is a right that you deserve. What are we going to gain from reading and learning? There's so many things that we can discuss. Just quickly, in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructs us, أَفَلَمْ يَنْظُرُوا إِلَى السَّمَاءِ فَوْقَهُمْ كَيْفَ بَنَيْنَاهَا وَزَيَّنَّاهَا وَمَا لَهَا مِنْ فُرُوجٍ. As you read and learn things, Allah tells us, look at the sky and study and explore. Try to understand what is up there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says elsewhere in the Quran, when He talks about people who know and people who don't know, قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Are the people who know equal to the people who don't know? Obviously they're not, right? The Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam said, طَلَبُ الْعِلْمِ فَرِيضَةٌ عَلَى كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ وَمُسْلِمَةٍ. To seek knowledge and to learn beneficial things is an obligation upon every Muslim man and Muslim woman. Then the role of literacy and reading and learning new things in Islam is something that is known, and it's something that Islam brought as a gift to the world. Something that we can reflect on and think about together. Did you guys know, or let me ask you young friends, and I can drink some coffee. If you need to study after school, where do you go? Boys? Home. Good. Where else? Library. Who has been to the library in the last year? Wow. One person?
Campus library.
Campus library? That's what I'm talking about. Like school library works. Have you been there the last year? You guys don't go to libraries? Zoya goes to the library. Where's Zhil? Do you go to the library, Zhil? No. Okay. Wow. Well, now I'm starting to think that the Islamic heritage is dying. We need to do something. Ahbab, libraries as a concept. I want you guys to think about this. The concept of a library is a Muslim invention. The idea that there can be somebody, one of the kids was talking about Beit al-Hikmah book, that this house of wisdom. So in essence, it was a library. It was a place where lots of books were, the scholars used to come, read, study, translate, write their own ideas, archive it so that other scholars after them can come and read and learn from them, right? The library is a Muslim invention. Muslims felt we love reading so much that a Muslim guy said, why don't I put all the books in one room and then let people come and choose what they want to read? This was the mind of the Muslim. The rest of the world, majority of the people didn't know how to read and write. Muslims didn't only know how to read and write. We put all the books in one place and say, Yallah, come. Whatever you want to learn, whatever you want to read, help yourself. And then after all of that effort, you guys are telling me you never stepped foot on library. Anyways, the Muslims invented and offered the world this idea of a library, right? Something so powerful. Till today, by the way. And I hope this changes for you guys. I hope you guys spend some time in the library once or twice in your life. Till today, the brightest minds, what do? They go and they read what's in the library, and then they figure out what can be added to the library, isn't it? Right? That's the cycle of evolution of knowledge. And if you're not in the library figuring out what exists in the form of knowledge already, how are you going to figure out what you can add to the knowledge that is already there? Two last things, perhaps, and then we can open it for questions and take a break before Maghrib, inshallah. Two last things that are closely linked to each other that I'll share with you guys. And again, one of the students alluded to it, that the early Muslims in the golden age of Islam, they came up with what we call al-manhaj al-tajrib, the process of learning things by experiment. This was the Muslim idea, that we cannot just decide things or claim things without doing experiments to back up our theory, right? And Ibn Haytham, as an example, is somebody who excelled in this. The idea, and whether we're talking about manhaj tajribi or the uslub al-bahth, the way to do research and the way to analyze things, Muslims invented the scientific method. For all of you guys who are in high school or university, you should be very familiar with the scientific method. The idea that you have a hypothesis, you go and test it, you do an experiment, and only after that can you come up with a conclusion. This idea as a concept was added to the human sciences by Muslims. Muslims came with our understanding of the world and our ethics and what our deen teaches us, and we said, okay, there's no way we can say something is fact without proving it. And before we can say this is a fact, we must go test our theory. And this is how Muslims invented the scientific method. Today it's something that all of the leading scientists of the world, the Europeans at the time of the Enlightenment, the North Americans, our own scientists until today, they take great pride and they talk for hours about how their theories have been rigorously put through the scientific method. And they will never tell you, that's why we are here to tell you, that scientific method, it was a Muslim's idea. Muslims said that there is no way we can claim something is scientifically accurate unless it goes through the scientific method. So Muslims had the idea of experimenting, testing, analyzing, retesting, and only after establishing that physically something is factual, do you then go and say this is part of science. Muslims, walillah alhamd, have contributed so much to human civilization. I fully understand and acknowledge, especially if you are a young person who was born, after the year 2000, that maybe you have not seen, much good things about Islam. You have hardly ever seen that Islam has anything positive to offer the world. And this is why, I challenge you and I implore you to spend some time and to try to do your own research and study the history of Islam, study the contribution of Muslims to this world that we live in, understand and appreciate that Islam and Muslims are big players in the development of this world that we call home today. Without the contribution of Muslims, the world today will be a very, very different place. Zhil and Zoya were talking about the, simple robotic inventions of those brothers in Iraq. Today, without any exaggeration, without any stretch of the imagination, it's factual to say that modern robotics is built on their theories. If it wasn't for what they figured out back then, who knows where the world will be today? And there are 1,000,001 different things that you guys may find very fascinating. Today is not the time because time is up. But inshallah, this is something that we will do every year. And if Allah gives us the life next year, I have every intention that Islamic Heritage Month will be Islamic Heritage Month in the best meaning. We will use all of our opportunities during the month of October to cater our programming, inshallah, to promote the heritage of Islam. Not just the last Saturday of the month, but all of the halaqat and all of the programming will be geared towards, reconnecting our minds with the memory of the Ummah, which, had a very high status. I don't know how many of you guys know this. A Muslim guy was the inventor of, or the first person to fly. Who knows? I don't have anything to offer you. Oh, yes.
I just studied it while I was searching for someone to do my presentation.
What was his name?
It was a name similar to Sonya's. I forgot the name.
Okay.
Sonya.
Have you heard you say
No, not
something?
her name.
First name Abbas. Last name?
Abbas ibn Farnas.
Abbas ibn Farnas, accent. Right? He was the first person to fly. The story is, I'll tell you guys a story that we could do. He studied the idea that, how birds fly. This was his lifetime mission, was he said if the bird can fly, the human being should be able to build something that can fly. Concept. Then he studied, he said, okay, bird flaps his wing and he flies. Then Mr. Abbas ibn Farnas, he studied, he calculated, he measured, did all the math. Then he built something for him that he can jump off of. He didn't know how to go off the ground into the air. But he said, if I jump from the cliff and I have these devices attached to me and I flap my arms, meaning I make these wings move, I should be able to glide through the air. And by the way, it was a big event in the history of even the Muslim world at that time. The Khalifa came, and all of the dignitaries and the special people came to watch the first man fly. And Abbas ibn Farnas, he jumped, and subhanAllah, he was able to fly. But anybody know what happened next?
The tail.
The guy said, Ammi knows very well, mashallah. I see we have the same hat, huh? This hat comes with lots of envy this morning, you guys. So he forgot, the Shaykh mentioned he forgot the tail. So what happened? While he was flying, he got tired of flapping his wings. Then he said, okay, I want to come down. How to come down? If I stop, I'll fall. But he was tired also. So unfortunately, he had to stop, and he fell, he got hurt. He got injured. But subhanAllah, he didn't give up. He went back, he thought about it, he said, what did I miss? And then he discovered, after lots of research and lots of study, that the bird, yes, it uses his wings to glide and fly, but he uses his tail to descend. This is how he does it. And that's why modern aircrafts have wings and a tail. Thanks to who? Thanks to a Muslim guy. When you go to school, what do they teach you? Boys and girls, who invented the airplane? These kids go to school or what? The Wright brothers. They tell me that the Wright brothers invented the planes, I think in the, what was it, late 1800s?
Yeah.
Something like that? Right? Yeah. Abbas and Farnas, don't quote me for this, but lived at least 800 years before them. And just by watching a bird flying and saying, if the bird can do it, if Allah made the bird do it, there's something we can learn from the bird that will help us be able to fly. This is the legacy of Islam and the legacy of Muslims, but in order for this to happen, guys, you have to read, you have to visit the library once in a while, you have to excel in your studies, you have to have a mindset that I am a Muslim, I'm somebody who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed, He's given me a working brain, He's opened the field and opened the opportunity for me to study, and then inshallah you have to put your best effort and try your best to excel and to exceed inshallah in whatever it is that you are studying and trying to focus on. Ahbab, before I open the floor for you guys to ask any questions, a quick announcement for you guys. Next month is November. In November, inshallah, we will have the family halaqah as usual. I hope to see you all. In December, inshallah, at the end of December, that will be the winter break for all of our young friends, whether they're in university or high school. Then we are planning, inshallah, a special program for the youth during that time off. This will likely be the last weekend of December. Watch out for announcements for that later on. In the month of November, you will hear from us. And inshallah, if you have kids or young friends who are in university, college, or high school, we hope to see them, and we hope inshallah that will be a good opportunity. It's not only for them to learn something about Islam from me or another speaker, it's a good opportunity for them to meet each other, because that is very important. Our youth have a need to network and meet with other Muslim youth, right, by definition. Then hopefully that event, inshallah, in December will play an important role in giving these young people an opportunity to come hang out with other young people, meet other young people, and hopefully while they're at it, inshallah, learn something and make salah in the masjid as well. Ahbab, do you guys have any questions or comments for me before we begin to conclude?
Just a couple of comments.
Bismillah.
Freedom of expression. This was the base. At this time, at Hassan ibn Haytham and Justina, they had
freedom.
All the right to think on everything. The countries that we mostly came from doesn't encourage this these days. Trying to connect the dots. It's a big subject, okay, fine. You are now in Canada, which you can fly with your mind everywhere. So this is one. One example happening these days, unfortunately, in the religion itself. We are lazy. We come to Imam to ask for the simplest question. I read in one of the newspapers yesterday that somebody came to Al-Azhar asking, if I read Quran from my mobile, do I have the same ajr as I needed from Mus'haf? Surely, yeah. I don't think it's that question that needs to go to Imam. اسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون. There is a thin line here. Does it mean that you stop your mind from working? and follow Imam, and that's it.
Where's
Because
your
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Imam is a human being. He may tell you something right, he may tell you something wrong. Wahy stopped coming to earth, Jibreel stopped coming to earth since the passing away of Rasulullah. So everybody is a human being, his ideas is for discussion. So try to make some efforts. Look at Quran. Okay, just don't stop your mind from working and follow Imam, and that's it. Just a comment.
No, 100% correct. Sometimes I say this thing here, what, kidney, right? No, brain has to be on, inshallah, right? Don't I say kidney, you say yeah, kidney. This is not a good idea. Brain has to be on, as our Sheikh was telling us. You're from Masr?
Yes.
People of Masr are our favorite people. We just finished studying not last week. 2 weeks ago, we were studying the story of Prophet Yusuf. And we reached the ayah, Khulu Misra, inshallah. Inshallah soon. Barakallah fikum. Anything else, Ahbab, before we conclude? While you guys take a chance to think, let me check what time is the adhan for Maghrib today. Wow, perfect. That will be in 2 minutes. Then nobody's eating. We will make adhan for Maghrib, inshallah. We'll clean up here first, put everything back where it came from. But before I do that, actually, I have a very important announcement. We will pray Maghrib together, inshallah, and then we'll have dinner together. Can I see some of my friends? Can I see Nur and Muhammad, please? My Quran reciter and translator. I have some gifts for you guys. Don't be shy. Jazakallah khair, guys. You did a phenomenal job. You know what this is? This is a bookmark. This is to encourage you to go to the library and find something. Barakallahu feekum. Can I see Sonya? I was going to say jump over. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. That was excellent. There's a bookmark for you. And last but not least, Zhil and Zoya. Yes. Sorry, your sister was making sure. By the way, I love how you guys are matching. Zoya, what color do you prefer? White. What color do you prefer? Barakallahu fikum. For all our young presenters, Jazakumullah khair. Allah bless you and your families. Keep your parents and loved ones in good health. Grant all of you the best in this life and the next life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us all to live and die as Muslims and to follow the straight path. May He cause us to die while He is pleased with us. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.